All right, everybody. It's the Combatcast with the man called Dave and Chevy. And we're going to talk some UFC 310 from this past weekend. And we're going to talk about this week's coming up fight night. But first, let's talk about that sponsor.
Yeah, I would like to thank the sponsor, Game Up. They make a thirst-quenching adult beverage with a special blend of electrolytes. Comes in 4 great flavors: fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape.
All right. And also, only 110 calories, guys. It's a low-carb drink, so don't have to feel guilty about enjoying it. So let's talk about what we got coming up first, too, though.
All right, December 21st, we'll be reviewing this card, but we're also going to be reviewing a classic fight, Lawler versus McDonald 2, my favorite fight, I think, in the UFC. And then December 28th, we'll be reviewing another classic fight, Hunt versus Silva.
Yes.
And we'll be doing a wrap-up 2024 show. And then January 4th, we're going to talk about previewing what we're looking forward to in the coming year, 2025.
All right, so good stuff coming up. I'm looking forward to looking at some of those classic fights. But, hey, let's get right into it today. Why don't we talk about what we're coming off, and that is UFC 310. One of my most enjoyable events overall this year, I would say, in terms of top to bottom, a card that I thought really delivered overall.
Yeah, it was a great, we talked about this last week, talked about how there's no real giant names on the card, but matchmaking wise, there's just a lot of really great fights, and they really delivered. So
yeah, and I thought that was the case here too. Any undercard fights you want to talk about before we get into this? Or
we can just go through a couple of them quickly. Chase Hooper demolished Clay Guida with a round 1 armbar. Shout out to Chase, very good performance from him. Michael Chiesa got a round 3 rear naked choke over Max Griffin. So I guess, he kind of mentioned that the title is outside of his reach, but he's going to go for that rear naked choke record. So that's what he's on the hunt for the rest of his career. Our boy Chris Weidman got beat up by Eric Anders, round 2 TKO, unfortunately. Maybe time for him to hang him up.
That was definitely a lot of stuff that was talked about with Dana White afterwards. Some of the other fighters as well.
There's a few others, Clay Guida was one as well. Randy Brown, Brian Battle. Brian Battle missed weight by like 4 pounds, I think. Ended up getting a split decision win. Good for him, I guess. Mosvar Evelev versus Aljo. That was a fun fight. Outside of the Diego Lopez fight, probably Mosvar's toughest fight. Aljo showed, he belongs up at the top of that division for sure, but Mosvar stays undefeated. Vicente Luque got a very quick Darce choke after knocking down Themba. Yep. And then I don't know if you want to talk about this, but Anthony Smith, he got beat up pretty bad. Clearly, his friend and coach passed away recently, and he was emotional going into the cage and even during the fight. He put his hands down and was telling Dominic Reyes he wanted him to hit him so he could feel something. He clearly was not in a good state of mind to be in a cage fighting, and talked about possibly hanging them up as well.
Yeah, it was probably not the right move to go into this fight in that mental state. I don't know where Anthony Smith is at this point of his career anyway, if we're being honest. It's probably not going to make a title run, even in a division that, has been open with contenders right in the bottom of it. It just feels like he just doesn't have, his chin is with these heavy hitting guys. It doesn't feel like he can take a lot of these punches anymore. So, and at the end of the day, this was a question Dana White was asked was particularly about Clay Guida, like you mentioned. Who else did we mention in the middle here? Weidman, thank you. Yeah, Chris Weidman and Anthony Smith, and he felt like all three of them should retire. So, and I can't argue with that. I always thought it'd be fun though if you could find favorable matchups for all three and actually give them like a retirement send off, you know. But at this point, it's like, yeah, maybe it's just best that they all go under separate. Fight games are cruel, cruel games sometimes, and it might be time for all of them to move on.
Yeah, the UFC doesn't usually. I mean, there are rare exceptions, but usually these guys don't go out with a nice send off or anything in an easy fight. So,
yeah, no, for sure. It was a fun
main card though.
Fun undercard though, and fun, early undercard as well. Everything was fun on this. So.
Yeah. All right, let's get a main card. Starting off with Nate Landwehr versus Do Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy.
Do Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. He just looked next level here compared to Nate. I thought it'd be a fun little brawl, and I thought this is where Nate could have had a chance, but no. Do Ho Choi was just so technical here, and he hit so hard. To me, there was no doubt the Korean Superboy was the superior fighter in this case. Love Nate Landwehr, but he's not on the level of the Korean Superboy right now. And that was facts. So I'll let you talk about what you thought of the fight, but I think we talked about it this night. We're talking about potential opponents for him, and I like the idea of a fight with Calvin Kattar next. I think that would be a great logical step up and a fun stylistic fight.
Yeah, Do Ho dominated Nate, like you said. He looked many levels above him. Credit Nate for his toughness. He kept coming forward, but Do Ho was just stinging him with every hard shot and dominated him in the wrestling, which was surprising as well. That's a new layer he's added to his game in his time away. I think he's ready for a top 5 guy, personally.
Right. Well, Josh Emmett was a guy I mentioned too.
Josh Emmett would be a very fun fight, but Do Ho called out Bryce Mitchell.
Right.
Which a very good call out. He sent a picture of the Earth being round because Bryce obviously thinks the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a funny call out. So that'd be good. But I agree, Kattar would be great. That's probably best. I think Kattar is probably the best. Emmett would be fun. Probably the most difficult one.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. To Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie.
Bryce was much like Do Ho Choi, superior to Kron. Kron would he had a couple moments, Kron, where it looked like he tried to get a submission on, but Bryce was
had an armbar, yeah.
Yeah, Bryce was able to get out, and other than that, Bryce was able to stop any kind of takedown, and his striking was superior, and he was able to lay him out, with a big slam and then TKO him. Good win for Bryce to get back in the win column. Maybe the Korean Superboy will be a good matchup. Maybe that is what they're going to do. I thought an interesting matchup might be, I know this guy might be done with the featherweight division, but Brian Ortega, if he sticks at featherweight division. Only because Brian likes to go to the ground as well. Brian's been inactive, so I thought that'd be fun. Now, if Brian's on his game, I favor Brian just because I think he's bigger, with his striking, and everything too is a little better. But again, don't even know what Brian's doing. But I think if he's available, that could be a fun matchup.
Yeah, that would be really fun. I do think he said he's after that Diego Lopez one, he was gonna go up to 55, and that's where he was gonna stay. But stylistically, that'd be really fun for sure. Kron should never fight in the UFC again, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he is strictly a jiu-jitsu fighter. He was a little bit more open with his striking in this fight compared to what he has been in the past. But he basically had that armbar locked on to Bryce Mitchell, was unable to stretch him out and submit him. And I mean, he's just not at the level, and he's not getting with the times. He's in that Nate Diaz camp.
Yeah.
And none of them get with the times. They've fought the same way since the early 2000s, and the sport has moved on from them. So he's also really inactive. So I don't understand why that fight got put on the main card, but it doesn't matter. Shout out to Bryce. He did what he needed to do. Credit to him for being willing to go down to the ground, believing in his BJJ or his MMA BJJ. enough to get into Kron's guard and feel like he was safe there. And then obviously the finish was great. That he got that round 3 slam, which he basically put Kron out with the slam. And then he landed a couple elbows to finish the job. All right, moving on. Co-main event. I'm sorry, third to last fight. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov 2.
Yeah, much more entertaining fight than I thought it would be. Much more of a well-rounded fight than I thought it'd be. I mean, they were striking, but they were wrestling as well. There were submission attempts. Thought Gane had really improved his game. At the same time, in saying that, I thought Volkov won the fight, like quite a few people did, including Dana White. I don't know. It's one of those fights I would classify as a robbery again. I know Volkov definitely felt very adamant that he won the fight and felt disgusted and wanted someone to explain. I just felt like it wasn't a dominant performance. I thought Volkov did do enough to win, though. I thought it was 2-1. And, unfortunate for Volkov because at this point in his career, after getting some momentum, this is the kind of loss that's really going to hurt him. As for Gane, he got a win. I don't think he was too happy about it. He said he hurt his toe, possibly fractured his toe early on.
He did. He broke multiple toes. Yeah.
So we'll see where he goes from here. I know the commentary, the post-fight crew had mentioned afterwards that if Tom Aspinall doesn't end up fighting John Jones, maybe Gane and Aspinall could fight because they've never fought. And I think it might have been Dominic Cruz who said, don't even put that evil out there. Tom Aspinall's fighting John Jones, and that's all there is to it. So I hope Dom is right, and that is what happened. So I would just say for Cyril Gane, who won this fight, a fight I'd like to see him fight next would be Curtis Blades, a wrestler at heavyweight. You haven't fought him yet. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I thought Volkov should have got the win, but I didn't. Like, a lot of people thought this was a legit robbery. And, I mean, the fight was really close. I could see how people would give it to Gane. And I am, honestly biased against Gane. I'm not a fan of the guy. So I really was looking for Volkov to win. So I didn't think it was a robbery. I understand Volkov being upset, but it was close. So you can't be that upset. I agree. The fight was definitely interesting. Both guys landing takedowns was not on my prediction card for sure. Right. Gane, I mean, he has a heel hook finish, but he leaned back to try to get that heel hook on Volkov, and he was basically at one point though he just held on at the end of the fight. I think he just held on to a Kimura that he was never going to get just to stay safe. Right. And I thought. I guess MMA judging doesn't work like this, but Volkov was on top of him basically for 4 minutes while Gane held on to that submission attempt that was never close. So I guess maybe that's what won him the fight. But it's scoring wise, I would have gave that to Volkov. But Dana White, like you said, he said, "You got fucked," quote to Volkov. So I mean, the UFC can do whatever they want. They don't need to go by rankings or what the commission says or anything like that. That would be 5 wins in a row, I think, for Volkov. But he's not going to get a title shot.
No.
He's not going to get the shot against Aspinall because they already fought.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's probably got to be Gane and Aspinall if the John Jones thing doesn't happen. But I'm with Cruz. Don't put that evil out in the world. So I think that Curtis Blades and Gane is a good shout.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the co-main event. Fun fight. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Gary.
Another complete fight, too. We saw some wrestling. We saw some striking. We saw some admission attempts. Shavkat did enough to win, and the judges saw it that way. At the same time, I think it was Chael Sonnen who said, and he brought up a good point, Ian Gary was really not much of a loser here. Like, he's the first guy to go the distance with Shavkat. He was able to take Shavkat down, and he was probably the one out of the two of them who had someone in the most trouble at different times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Ian Gary had, a choke on, and it looked close, So great performance by Ian Gary. He's the only one that I'll mention for out of the guys who lost. I'd like to see a couple potential fights with him. I said it to you, I think, that night. The winner or the loser from this weekend that we'll talk later with Covington and Buckley. I think that's a great matchup either way for Ian Gary. As for Shavkat, it's got to be Bilal. You did enough. You had done enough before this. Now, I think it's even more convincing. Like, this guy needs to fight for the title, and I'm looking forward to that fight.
Yeah, I was super impressed with Ian's takedown defense. But I did hear that Shavkat tore his MCL before this fight. I've had that injury twice before. And in my case, anyway, I don't know about him, but you feel like you can move around okay, and until you move the wrong way, and then you just collapse. So the fact that he was in there, and I don't know how he could do 25 minutes in a fight on a knee like that, but he did. Allegedly, that's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. But shout out to Ian Gary, though. He showed he didn't get the win. I thought Shavkat won, but he did, like you said, had him in the most danger for sure, because he had the body triangle on him. He was on his back, very close to that rear naked choke, or he could have face cranked him, honestly, at the end of the fight, and it was very close. But good showing from both fighters. Both guys have potential to be champ very soon, and I'm sure we'll see this fight again for a belt like in the next few years. And also, I'm with you, Ian Gary. I think he's got to fight the winner of Buckley or Covington. He has a little bit of has had a little bit of back and forth with both guys. He was lined up to fight Buckley before taking this. Also, Ian Gary took this fight on short notice too. So to go 25 minutes with someone who's, only
no one's going to go distance with
100% finish rate on short notice is impressive. But also, Shavkat showed that he has the cardio to do 25. We weren't aware of. We hadn't seen it. So, like I said, good showing from both guys. All right, main event time: Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Asakura.
Short but fun fight. Kai really came in there. I mean, flying knee right in the beginning. He put himself in danger. He was swinging. He had fun out there. You could tell for a while it lasted. But Pantoja, what an animal. We said to each other, I don't remember if we said it on air, but during that show when we were watching it, because we were starting to feel tired because we're it's just a long event. It's East Coast, baby. And you're like, I almost want Kai to win because at least we'll get a finish, and that's the way we're going to get a finish. No, Pantoja's like, hold on, guys. And, Pantoja, this guy, he just eats these strikes. He takes them down. He's got submission attempts. He can strike. He can do it all. And in the end, what a complete performance. Was it round 2, he said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Rear naked choke round 2.
Rear naked chokes, yeah. So round 2 submitted him. Yeah. Yeah, it felt like almost 3 rounds. But, it was a fun, competitive 2-round fight while it lasted. I don't know if competitive, but I felt like Pantoja was definitely going to win this. But I thought Kai, he came out there to fight, and I'm looking forward to see what he does next as well. Pantoja, keep bringing him out here. Keep finding him challenges. I don't know. He's such a smaller guy. I don't know if you ever bring him up to bantamweight, but at some point he's going to clear out this division. I know he said he'd love to fight Mighty Mouse Demetrius Johnson. I think you were the one telling me off air too that Demetrius Johnson has already put the kibosh on that. He has no interest in that. That's a shame. I wish they would offer like a truckload of money for him and they'd make it happen because I just think that'd be a fun fight.
They said they offered him. He said that they offered him $2 million. And he said, "No, this YouTube money's popping because he has a great YouTube." So,
okay. Well, hey, good for him then. Good for him for not needing the money anyway. So, but would be a fun fight if it ever happened. I don't honestly know how it even feel like who would win that because Demetrius was really good, but could he beat Pantoja at this stage of the game? Who knows? I'd probably favor Pantoja, I think, but man, that'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see that. Just
we're not.
I think Mighty Mouse is like Khabib, where he makes up his mind. He's thought it out very well. He's an intelligent guy. He did fighting because he liked the competition, not because he enjoyed fighting. So I don't think we're going to see it, but it would be fun. I'd favor DJ. I think he's the greatest of all time, personally. So, but I don't think we're going to see it. But back to this fight. So on the show last week, I did say I thought Pantoja would get a round 2 sub because Kai, we just didn't know the level of competition he had fought, really.
Right.
But as the fight was coming closer, I was thinking, maybe there's an opportunity Kai could get that KO. Like you were saying, I was tired, and that seemed like more of a realistic thing. And when he came out, he landed a lot of really hard shots. Like you said, a flying knee. He landed a couple flying knees, but Pantoja, wow, he has a great chin because he just walked through him like a Terminator. He just kept walking him down. And he has like a deceptive range because he was really catching Kai at the end of a lot of his punches. Kai would be leaning back or, shifting off to the side, and it looked like he was going to get out of range. And he's, right at the end of all the punches. So, he put on a good showing, especially for UFC debut. We talk about UFC jitters coming in. He didn't look worried. He seems like he could be a star for sure. Definitely one of the most exciting fighters in the division. Might bring a little bit of new blood, which will be fun. I think he could knock out a lot of guys in that division outside like the top 5. He could probably KO all of them, but the division is in shambles currently because I think I saw a stat that Pantoja on his way up, or since he's been the champ, has beaten 9 out of the top 10 guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do. I guess, some guys have already fought him 2 times, 3 times.
I think Kai Francis only lost to him once.
Yeah, so maybe that's what's next. But you got to hope that somebody else gets that belt so he can get some fresh blood. It's already a tough division to sell fights because the guys are so small. So when somebody
he's entertaining. Yeah. These fights are entertaining.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as Demetrius, He had the same.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't think he'll be able to make the weight. He's a big guy, but Davis and Figueiredo, came back. That's a fight I don't think we've seen. So I'd love to see that fight, But
yeah, I don't think Davison would ever want to cut back down. But if they offered him enough money, maybe that would be fun for sure.
Yeah. But, all right, fun night of fights. Maybe one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year. I have to go back in terms of overall quality.
Yeah.
Really like the show. All right, let's get to it. Covington versus Buckley. And this is a fight I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch live this weekend. But, man, I'm looking forward to this fight. Just because Buckley's on a roll. But let's before we get to we're going to do the co-main event and main event here. Is there any fights you want to shout out on this card?
Yeah, there's a few good fights on this card. This is the last UFC card of the year too, so I think they're trying to put on a little bit of a show, even though it's just a fight night. But you have Miranda Maverick versus Jamie Lynn Horth. Miranda Maverick is fun; she's very active. Joel Alvarez versus Drakkar Klose. That's a sleeper fight. Alvarez has like 21 submission finishes. He's a monster Spanish guy. Drakkar Klose, very very good vet, so good measuring stick for sure, but I would favor Alvarez. And then Michael Johnson versus Ottoman Azatir. Michael Johnson, always fun. And then on the undercard of the main card, Adrian Yanez versus Daniel Marcos. He's undefeated. Yanez is tough, but showcase fight. And then Vitor Petrino versus Dustin Jacoby. That'll be fun too, but also showcase fight for Petrino. And then Manel Kape versus Bruno Silva. Talk about that flyweight division. Some guys trying to make some noise to get up there to Pantoja.
See what happens. All right, let's get to it. So,
all right, co-main event. Very fun fight. Cub Swanson versus Billy Quarantillo.
Yeah. Billy Quarantillo is a fun fighter. He's 18-6, 8 KOs, 5 subs, 5 decisions. He's had a fight of the night and a performance of the night. Cub Swanson is 29-14. He's a veteran. 13 knockouts, 4 subs, 12 decisions. He's had 1 performance in the night and 7 fight in the nights. All right. So Billy Quarantillo, I feel like, should have more because he is an exciting fighter. But between both of them, they have 8 fight in the night. So this is probably going to be a fun, active fight given the way they both fight. Both have kind of been up and down, and I would say they both want to win. I like Cub Swanson, but I feel at this stage of the game, I feel like I'm going to favor Billy a little bit more. But both have been active and around, but I feel like Billy a little less miles on the body. And that's coming from a guy who's a Cub fan and probably like to see Cub win. But we'll see. I'm going to go Billy. Hard-fought decision. Could even be fight of the night.
Yeah, both fighters have been on a long streak of win one, lose one. But both are currently coming off a loss right now. So I think that Cub has fought the way tougher opponents, but he's 41, and at featherweight, that's a big deal. The athleticism is a must, and Father Time's going to come take it from him any day. So stylistically, like you were mentioning, set up to be a very fun fight. I think it will be a very fun fight. I'd be happy if Cub won, but I just have a feeling, similar to you, that Billy's going to edge out a decision in a fun fight. So could be Cub's last one with a win or a loss. So
right.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley.
All right. Covington, this guy, he's been in championship fights before. He's a big name. 17-4, 4 KOs, 4 subs, 9 decisions. He's a former interim UFC welterweight champion. Fight of the night 2 times. Most significant strikes landed in a UFC welterweight bout. That was 179 versus Robbie Lawler. All right. Buckley, 20-6, 14 KOs, 6 decision. He's had 5 performances of the night. And coincidentally, he has also won 5 in a row, including victories over Vicente Luque and his most recent one over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Buckley has a lot of momentum going into this right now. I feel like he's explosive, and I think the wrestling and the volume of Covington is always dangerous, but Covington's been in a lot of wars at this point in his career. He's had close calls winning those welterweight titles with Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. But at the end of the day, he didn't get it, and he's got a lot of wear and tear on his body going up against a surgeon Buckley. Although I think that wrestling could be a problem, I think Buckley's going to find a way to deal with it. Might be later on. We'll see. Maybe the cardio is an issue, though, for Buckley as we get later to this. We'll find out.
He is very muscular.
Yes. So, but I'll go Buckley. I'm going to go round 2 or 3. I'll go 3, although I get concerned as we get to round 3 with a TKO just because of how explosive he is, and I think that's how he's going to win.
Battle of the 2 most disliked welterweights for sure here.
Yeah.
At least Joaquin has an exciting style, though.
Right.
He's powerful enough to stop a lot of Colby's takedowns, but does he have the cardio to stop them all? So,
and Colby has a good chin.
Yeah, and he had his jaw broken and wasn't finished.
Yeah. Let's put it this way, though. He's had a good chin.
Yeah.
Again, he's getting. Yeah. We'll see. So
right, that all adds up. Yeah. Ask Max Holloway. He has a great chin too, but he just recently got finished. It does happen. So, Buckley's definitely powerful enough to put Colby away when he's like attempting all these takedowns for sure. But I think it's less likely. I think this is probably going to be a pretty boring fight. I think Colby will play it safe. He'll do a lot of clinching, a lot of takedown attempts, even if he lets Buckley up and takes him down again, just to try to wear him out and try to sap some of that power. You'll see a lot of, when they clinch, a lot of, Colby's not known for power, but he'll land a lot of body shots and stuff to just try to sap some of that power. So I think that ends up ultimately working. Joaquin's very muscular. Like we said, I think that the wrestling pace is going to be too much for him. He's going to tire out. So I'll pick Colby by a fairly boring decision.
Okay.
But he could get caught at any minute, so he better be on his game.
All right. All right. There we have it. And I think that's what we're thinking too, is like I'm picking Buckley, but I don't like this the later it goes. So when we get to round 4, even late in round 3, I think this is going to be an interesting fight. But we shall see. All right. Why don't we tell people we got coming up one more time?
All right, December 21st, we'll be reviewing Lawler versus McDonald 2, my favorite fight. And then December 28th, we'll be reviewing Hunt versus Silva, great heavyweight matchup. And we'll be reviewing 2024 as a whole. We'll do a little wrap up. And then January 4th, we will be previewing the upcoming year, 2025, what we're looking forward to.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy this weekend's fight night and enjoy some Game Up.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.